Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Tales Off the Holotables, the only Galaxy of Heroes show where you'll rarely learn anything worth a damn about the game itself, but everything about the players that enjoy it and the content creators that support it. Today I'm joined by the Cunctator who, and he can correct me if I'm wrong, and please do, I describe as content creator curious. Would you agree with
Uh,
that?
yeah, pretty much.
I would say I've known you on Reddit for a while, since before we started the Discord. Not in a friendly way, just like seen you around, saw your comments that were very similar to comments that I was making. We started the Discord by myself, and then Captain Amazing came along, um, and he was like, "Oh, hey, I got this like right hand man," and it happened to be you. And I was like, "Oh, I already know this guy. Like, I've already talked to him in some vein, in some way." But I think the most interesting thing to me is you're much younger than me. You're 18, 19, right? Is
Yeah,
that correct? How long have you been playing the game?
uh, in my account was started in 2015,
Okay.
but I quit for how many years is it? 6, 7. I returned back in 2021,
So you
and
started. You were basically a kid.
yeah,
So like high school playing. Like, did you when you started this game? Did you was your background like, oh, I'm gonna go gung ho on this, or was it like, oh, this is a cool Star Wars game, I'm gonna play it for a few weeks and be done with it, and now you're here?
my dad started playing, so I wanted to be to join him in what he enjoys because I'm a fan of my dad. Uh,
It's like a family thing.
yeah, so I started playing, but mostly it was because he enjoyed the game. So I played because of him, not because I enjoyed the game. And I only that's why I quit, because you can
So would
only play so much because of someone else.
so then would you say, like, would you look, I know we'll talk about this later, but outside of the stuff that I already know about it, outside of the stuff that I already know about you and that we'll bring up next, would you say, how would you describe yourself as a Star Wars fan?
Die Hard fan.
Die Hard fan.
Anything is written. If it has Star Wars in it, I'm 100% watching it, reading it, whatever.
What is your, and again, I know, I already know we're not talking about the obvious answer, but so like Star Wars for me when I grew up and being a kid and being like 8 years old, I grew up in the early 90s, and that was kind of when the special editions were coming out. So I did get to see the movies in the movie theater for the first time, just with all of the changes that Lucas had made. So that's Star Wars for me. Phantom Menace didn't exist. The prequels didn't exist. What is your introduction to Star Wars?
Uh, well, the sequels were coming out, so my dad wanted to show me everything with the original trilogy and the prequels. So was my introduction. But
So he started. He showed it to you four, five, six, one, two,
yeah,
three before them. All right. So
yeah.
you got it in the same order that I did. You didn't have to wait as long as I did for new movies and
Well, I kind of had to wait for a couple of months because he had some thing going on.
well,
But
that's
that's all.
very different than like
Yeah,
us,
but
right?
that's a different amount of time. Yeah.
Like we didn't even know that there was going to be prequels. That just kind of came, and we're like, oh, hey, by the way, this is happening, and everyone's like, oh, that's actually really cool. We're super 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 excited for that. That's my childhood, but now that's not what we're here to talk about. You before let's scratch that for a second. One of the big things before we get into that, I know you're a whiskey fan. I know that you have you cracked open a bottle for today I did try. I went to the big liquor store by me yesterday, and I looked for something new. There's one that's coming out. I don't know if it's out yet, and I was hoping to get it to open today. I was unsuccessful. So I'm drinking my Japanese whiskey, which is it's obviously drunk a little bit, right? But it is a favorite of mine. What are we drinking today?
I'm not sure it's even whiskey. It says whiskey, but it's actually I think it's actually a Scotch.
Okay, so Scotch is whiskey. It's just from a different.
This thing. I'm not sure because I'm not good at buying alcohol. I consult with my dad when I'm buying alcohol, so I don't really know anything except that he said it was good.
That it was good.
Yeah.
It reminds me. The bottle reminds me of like Macallan, right? So I know that you're not in the same area that I am. I don't want to dox you without you doing that yourself, but the label.
No, it's okay. You can.
Okay, so you're in Israel, right? But the label is in English, so I'm assuming that is the normal, the normal label for it. I haven't seen it before, but Scotch whiskey is one of my favorites. It can kind of go like either way. Sometimes it's too peaty and a little bit too. It tastes like a cabinet. But if you get a really good whiskey, it goes down nice and smooth. And you prefer to drink it neat, no ice?
No, it with ice always.
So you have ice, so on the rocks. Right. So I'm the same way. My wife likes it neat. I prefer. I got like the nice.
I can't. It's so heavy for me.
That taste will come with time. Just you wait a couple of years of drinking whiskey, and you'll be like, oh, this is nothing. This is easy. At 18, I was not drinking whiskey. I was drinking like the most garbage, sugary drinks to kind of mask the flavor of alcohol and the burn of alcohol. And you'll get there in not too long. But when I do these, I don't normally come in knowing exactly what I'm going to talk about. I just like to talk to interesting people from around the world. And I get kind of inspiration from those people, and I think you already probably have an idea. You are like, if we were to describe you on the Discord, and if I were to ask Captain Amazing, you are like the biggest Ahsoka superfan. Like, hardcore.
Yeah, in the Hisha show.
Now, big fan before the show? For like Clone Wars, you saw her, you're like, hey, great.
Yeah. Everything except the show I love about her.
I know that
the show ruined her.
I know we were talking about this a few days ago, and I was like, "Oh, the show was mediocre, and you're not happy with it. You're not a fan of it at all." What about it do you think? What do you think was wrong with it first?
Well, the Ahsoka, it's not the Ahsoka I used to know before the show. The Clone Wars Ahsoka and even the Rebels Ahsoka is much different from the one they showed in the show. I thought when they showed her back when Mandalorian was season 2, I think it was. I thought it was something like she didn't know Mando, so it was her like. She was protective of herself, protective of this random dude shows up and asks her to do things for him without any payment or anything. So that's what I thought it was. But they did the same thing for the entirety of the show, and it's just not the Ahsoka she was supposed to be.
So the story that you grew up with, you saw her going like a different direction, is what you're saying?
I think just a different character entirely. So
okay.
It's not the fact that it's a different Ahsoka. It's not Ahsoka. It's just a random Tagurta with white lightsabers.
let's assume, let's say that the show didn't happen, or let's say the show was a lot better, right, or whatever. Let's kind of ignore the show for a second. I think if I remember correctly, like people are they're comparing her to like Gandalf the Grey in Lord of the Rings, and that seems to be. I actually found out only a few days ago that that was like very much the inspiration for Ahsoka even early on. Like that outside of the show, if they had done that characterization correctly in your eyes, do you think that that would be okay, or do you feel like that type of comparison still is just not that character?
I don't care what people compare to. If they think she seems like Gandalf, Godspeed to them. I personally don't. I don't see the comparison, but I'm not. I'm not much of a Lord of the Ring fan, so
So you
maybe I'm
didn't
missing something.
so you didn't play that lovely game that lasted
I
for
did
6 months. You did.
for a week
It's
and
so
quit
bad.
after about a week because uh, I don't care if it's a good game. I'll play it even without knowing all the stuff. But
So
it was a bad game.
do you play other mobile games? Like, let me change. I play a lot of games where I'll play for like 2 weeks and then I quit, and I know I'm gonna play for 2 weeks and quit. Like I know I'm not gonna get invested in them. I know that I'm gonna get bored quickly, but sometimes you just need to change. Do you play any other games like at the same level that you play Star Wars?
Non-Star Wars games, I
And,
don't
and,
think
and like
so.
any like mobile, like the games that you can play on the go. So like, are there any other mobile games that you play at like long term, or at the level where you're on a Discord or you're talking to?
Yeah, yeah. The Star Wars MMO.
Oh, so
I
like Old
played a lot.
Republic.
Yeah,
I played that back at release. I don't even remember when that game came out, but I remember playing it when it.
2009.
So 2009 was the year that I graduated college, and that was when I was playing the Old Republic. Back when there was one raid. Back when it was like considered like a WoW clone, and it hadn't stood on its own 2 feet yet, other than the fact that BioWare had done it and does like decent characterizations. How long have you been playing that game?
Since I think 2019. I'm not sure.
Okay, so a couple years. You've been playing
Yeah,
2019-ish, so like roughly 5 years. And you'd say that
yeah,
you're like just as engrossed in that community?
yeah. It's a larger community, so I'm less known there. But I,
That's
I,
that's I need to get in there. Maybe I'll have a better community there. I'll just have to restart with all of the math and drop rates and like boss spawns, and it has been a long time since I've played an MMO. A long, long fucking time. So, in the game, I've seen your account a million times. I know I did a roster review recently, and you were like, "Oh, you should have this memorized by now." But I see a million accounts, and this is not just for me. You're like in the middle of the game, somewhere around like that five
yeah,
seven
mid game,
million. Like,
7-8 million. Yeah,
yeah. And Cap and I, we are constantly advising you to do certain things, and you like to ignore us, right? And just do whatever the hell you want. Which is kind of like a running joke, I think, between the three of us. And obviously, we've all told you there's no, like, don't go for Ahsoka, don't do it, like, it doesn't make sense. You have all of these other things to do. I think what's interesting to me is that the Ahsoka that you're willing to invest so heavily in is the Ahsoka that you hate.
there won't be another Jelasoka, so I'll
So,
just pretend it's another one. It's the Clone Wars one or something.
okay. All right. And you're willing, I think, right? You're willing to drop some money on this if you have to.
I already did. I'm keeping a spreadsheet.
What
It's
what do
so
you
far.
think your
I think
estimate
it's.
would be? Not for what you've spent so far. What do you think your estimate, like the whole farm? You're like, I'm willing to spend this much.
I think I'm hoping it won't cost 500, but I'm
Like
not sure.
so like
I'm not.
500 in US dollars, or I
Yeah,
don't know the convert, about 500 USD. We'll try to get you
it's already
there.
cost of 500 shekels, so
Okay.
multiply by 3.5.
We'll,
It's already
we'll
did.
we'll try to get you there a little bit cheaper, but it always it kills me when I mean, I don't care. I do not care what people spend on the game. That's fine if this is your enjoyment. But it kills me when I'm like, oh, this is not a smart move for you right now. It's not even about the money. But I mean, I appreciate the stubbornness, because that was me with the Gungans, right? Like just going gung ho and saying, screw it, I don't care. This is what I'm doing. And you're just dead set. This is your path. That's where you're going.
Yeah,
So you'd agree with that?
yeah.
Okay.
I'm not switching.
Do you?
I get tried to get me to switch. I'm currently fighting them about
Yeah.
it.
Well, I think it's not even good news. It's conjecture at this point, but I have a very strong feeling that the next raid is going to be Ahsoka themed.
It probably will, yeah.
You know,
But
if we're looking at November, December, and then we're looking at like a February release for the raid itself, there's no space for anything else, right? Like that's what's going to be there. So your guild might hate you right now, but in 5, 6 months, they might be singing your praises.
but there's a whole bunch, 9 months of rewards there that I'm just ignoring.
Oh,
So they kind of have a point.
there's a cat. Uh, my cat, this is Bruschetta. She's fat. And I've been ignoring her all morning, so she decided, she's like, you know, I'm going to come down and make your life miserable. And we're holding her right now because what's going to happen is she's going to step on my keyboard, and somehow she'll find the button that turns this off and screws me up. So we're going to annoy her until she decides to go away. There we go. You have Jabba yet or no?
Obviously not. Otherwise,
Oh,
it wouldn't be as stupid
well,
a suggestion as it is.
again, you know, as I say, like I see so many accounts that while I remember people and I go, yeah, I know that person, and I talk to you almost every day. I'm almost like account blind because you look at the account so many times that you have no idea. I'm gonna get so many clicks with this. There's a cat in this stream. This is great. I had asked somebody else this, and I guess I'm curious. We know Ahsoka's like your favorite character. You love her. You're like, hey, I'm willing to do all this stuff, and we recognize that the next raid is very likely going to culminate in that kind of thing. It makes sense. I'd be very surprised if it didn't. What do you, outside of Ahsoka, what character do you feel like you're like is not in the game yet, but either you're surprised, you're like they need to come to the game in the short term, other than the real Ahsoka, or other than like another, like outside of her as a character?
Revan is a.
So
I
you
think
think
Revan.
Revan Reborn
Yeah.
as a GL?
I don't care if he's a general. He just needs to be in the game. He's an influential character.
Is he in the Old Republic at all? I haven't played in
Yeah,
many years.
he in
Yes.
the third DLC.
Okay.
It's where he was. Revan Reborn is from the
Okay,
Old
see, I
Republic
had no
game.
idea. I just know like Knights of the Old Republic, Knights of the Old Republic 2. I like when Malik came to the game, right? Not Malik. Malik is Knights of the Republic. Malgus came to the game. I had no idea who they were because that didn't exist when I played that.
He did. He was.
Was he in
Yeah, he was a released character.
Then I wasn't paying attention. When I was playing these MMOs, I was at a time in my life, so about roughly ish your age. It was just jump MMO to MMO, right? So it was like Star Wars Galaxies, which was a great game, to World of Warcraft, to EverQuest 2, to the Old Republic, to the Warhammer one. And it was just you're playing with the same group of people, and you almost get blinded to like the quests, or like what the raids were, or what the battles were. You were just, it was okay, we're popping on Ventrilo or TeamSpeak, and we're gonna burn through this as quickly as we possibly can.
I can't do that. I need to focus on the game I am playing.
That's better than me. Like, for me, I'm surprised that I've been playing this game for so long. I thought that I'd have fun with it for like 3 months, and then I'd drop it, and it's been on my phone since 2017. And so that's 7 or 8 years, seven and a half years at this point, with no end in sight, especially with like the PC client coming out, or out, technically out. I'm hoping for a Mac client, which probably will never, ever happen. Where can we go with this game, man? Like, we want Revan in the game. How do you think that they're gonna? I see Revan, especially when they did Malgus, and we have like Malik, and we have Sortie, which was kind of like a collaboration. Do you think, like, I guess Revan, we already have 2 journeys, so it has to be an epic confrontation, or it has to be a GL. What other characters do you feel like have to come to the game in order to make that happen?
The Exile, of course.
Okay.
Because there's no Revan without the Exile.
Is that,
Scourge.
is that the Exile is KOTOR, or is that the Old Republic?
KOTOR 2. KOTOR 2.
So yeah, I've never played KOTOR 2. I've played the first one.
I played both.
Which is that, I mean, that in itself is weird, right? Because you're younger, and I don't like to harp on age, but like normally you're a product of your time. The games that come out around when you're born, or the games that come around the time that you start gaming, those are the games that you play. KOTOR 2 would be 2005 to like 2009, somewhere in that area.
Before I was born, yeah.
Yeah, you were like a baby, right? Like baby. Do you just engross yourself that much in Star Wars, or is it just you were playing the Old Republic and you're like, let me play these games? Like, have you played those other Star Wars games from that era?
Only those two, because they're both legendary games. So kinda, if you are playing any RPGs, and I enjoy RPGs, you kinda have to. Same with Neverwinter, which I haven't actually finished.
Have you played the new? I forget their names because I hate them so much. So the Force
Jedi games.
Yeah, have you played those two? What are they called? Fallen Order and Survivor.
Fallen Order and Survivor. Yeah.
How do you feel about them?
They suck. As
oh God.
I kind of agree with you. They suck. I don't enjoy those games. There's nothing there to. I kind of played them and finished them because they're Star Wars, but I'm definitely not replaying them.
So I'm glad to hear you say that. You know, you've seen me go on like massive tirades about the games, but nobody ever backs me up. It's always, no, you suck, you're wrong, your opinion sucks, you're awful. I seriously, man, like I would highly suggest, and anyone else that is listening to this, the Jedi Outcast games from probably just before KOTOR came out.
I think they were right after. I'm not sure.
They're somewhere in that area. Like
yeah.
Dark Forces was the originals, and those came out before. And they're fun games. They're the Kyle Katarn games. They're fun games, but they're not.
Yeah, I saw them. I never played them, but I saw them on YouTube. So
those ones you don't. That's
basically the same thing.
Those are, they're like early first person shooters. They're not that great, but I seriously, when you have the time, I know that coming up you're not going to have as much time, but when you do, the Jedi Outcast and the Jedi Academy game, like if you like Star Wars and you want a Star Wars feeling game, those early PC games, like that's where you have to go. Like I'm waiting for my Discord message from you that goes, "Oh man, like shit, you're right. Like these are the best games I've ever played, and I will stand by that."
Um, I don't know my to play collection, but there are a bunch of games already there, so it'll be a little while. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of modern games they're like they're a little bit too cinematic, you know. So I like to go back to these earlier games that really focused. They were so limited that they were really focused on the gameplay, and like you had to make the gameplay good because nothing looks like it's supposed to look like, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you remember? I know mine, and I don't know if everybody does. Do you remember like your most formative video game?
I grew up with video games, so I don't, because your your first probably was at some older age and
Yes.
freeform years. Mine was at 3 4 years. I don't remember which one it was.
See, so like interesting, yeah. Like I grew up with video games too. Now I don't know what it's like in Israel. Like now people are more cognizant of screen time. Obviously, I think that's probably maybe worldwide, probably. But when I grew up, video games were. I don't want to say they were new because you had the NES, you had the Atari, you had the ColecoVision before my time, but they were starting to become more widespread, not mainstream yet. But I grew up with video games. Like I grew up, my first game, and this is why I asked, my first game is Mega Man. It was Mega Man 2, and I remember that I was literally 2 years old playing this game, and not well. I sucked at it. I didn't beat anything. I didn't know what was going on, but I very, very, very vividly have the image of my head, like playing that game in my mom's bedroom and on her like 9-inch TV, looking up at like her dresser. And that's a formative game for me. Is just like if I think of my first gaming experience, it's Mega Man 2. And
From
you don't have that.
No, not really, because yeah, I know my first game. I actually like remember playing. It wasn't my first game, but it was Minecraft, obviously, because that was
Oh, that was
back in
huge.
2000 and 2013, 2014. It was a big thing. Yeah.
It was huge. Did you play it the console version or the PC version? Because very
The PC
very
version. I didn't have my console is older than my sister, who's 8.
um, so did you play like I played when Minecraft first came out I bought it. And I did not enjoy it. I was like, I thought it would be like Legos, and I was like, this is dumb. I hate it. I'm gonna just not play. I'm not gonna bother. But then I played it a couple years later with all of the mod packs, right? With like the PC, you had like all of these things that were developed, and I played it on like a private server with a bunch of friends. And
Yeah,
now I'm,
that's what it's about.
yeah.
That's what actually I'm a little bit playing right now, a little bit less because I have less time. But yeah,
But it's something you can just jump into, right? It's something that you can be like, all right, I'm gonna play this for 20 minutes, or I'm gonna like play it for 45 minutes, or maybe I have 3 hours and I am gonna play it for 3 hours one day. It's a nice game that you can play. You can just jump in, do whatever you want to do, and then just kind of like jump out at your own leisure. I think like our Discord, I was joking about this a few days ago. We should like have a Minecraft server, and just for
I
fun.
know people. I know people who can do it for you
Yeah,
if you wanna.
I've done private servers before. My friend ran ours a while ago because he had a spare PC that would just run 24/7. But like during COVID, during the lockdowns, my brother and I like we got very big into like private servers. So my brother owns his own business. He makes way more money than I do. So he would spend like the $10 a month for like a private server for the Forest. No, I don't think the Forest had private servers, but for like Age of Conan or Ark Survival, just like whatever, just for fun. And I don't know. I think it would be fun with Minecraft to have like that with however many people we have on there. Just whoever joins in and does silly things and makes silly things.
I'm all up for it.
I'll have to look into it and see. And maybe we'll put up like a donation stream just for that, just to run a server, so that people don't have to.
You are probably gonna hate me for this, but I'm willing to chip in.
Yeah, no, you need to stop. You of all people, I yell at you on every stream that we do. I'm like, hey, you got to put money away. You got to do this. You got to do that. You have your own stuff, going on and coming up and like stop. But I think between all of the people there's enough people that would probably be willing, and I would too. I would throw in money as well, just because I think it would be fun, and that's always been my vibe, and I think that's why we like work well together and we talk well together, and the community that we've built is just a bunch of weird people that like to do things in weird ways and different ways, and there's this way that's right, and we're gonna do it that way that doesn't make any sense, and we're gonna make it work. Oh my god. So Star Wars, going back to Star Wars, I grew up on the movies. I grew up on the original trilogy. I was 12, 13, 19, yeah, I was 12 when Phantom Menace came out. I never really got into the extended universe. And it sounds like you have. Like you will consume anything. Is that?
Yeah, I will, but I actually, because there's so much, I know I don't have the time.
Yeah, there is.
So, yeah.
Is there something that you would say? Oh no, continue, please, and then I'll go on.
No, I was already. I'm. You go on. I've
so,
finished.
I do read. I read sometimes. I don't read a lot of sci-fi. I don't read a lot of fantasy. I find it's really hard to connect to because the characters always have weird names, and I can never remember them. So, like the Thrawn books, right? Like everybody has like these really big surnames, and then they have like those truncated names that are much smaller, and you can never connect to the character. So it becomes very hard for me. But I do try to read like a Star Wars book every once in a while. I've read the Thrawn books. I read the old Han Solo trilogy, like the super, super, super old one. I've read Plagueis. I read some of the newer Obi-Wan ones, but they felt like they were designed for like 12-year-olds, and I just couldn't get into it. Are there any books or anything that you feel like, as a Star Wars fan, you have to read, other than what I have read? Like anything that's like, no, this is, you have to.
No, you pretty much have the full collection. I think is a must.
Of the good ones.
Yeah.
So
maybe the Raven books, but people hate them. I like them, but
why do people hate them? I didn't even know there was Raven
books. Because it kind of ruined the character, ruined all of those legendary characters. They just threw them out of the trash at the end. Out of the window into the trash? Yeah.
Is this extended universe, or is it like the new? I don't remember what they call the new canon.
Legends.
So is it Legends or is it extended universe?
I'm not sure. I think it's extended universe because it was written before.
Before Disney.
If it was written before 2015, when George sold it to Disney, it's extended universe. If not, it's Legends. But I'm not sure. I don't remember.
You don't remember the years. Extended universe was always interesting because, and it was a great idea, right? George Lucas was like, I want to build out this entire universe, but there's only so much that I can do. There's only so many movies that I can produce. And he kind of, and I know that I'm generalizing here, but he kind of almost said like, hey, everybody, like, write your own stories. Just do what you want to do. And I know that that's a super oversimplification. I'm sure that there were rights and there's people and there's liaisons and there's all this stuff going on. But it was very different from other IPs where the IP itself controls it very heavily. And I feel like Star Wars was much looser, and that's what makes it feel so big. Because there's all of these stories that are connected but also not connected at the same time.
Yeah, I agree.
Have you read any of the Afro stuff?
No, I tried to get some. It's really hard to get that stuff in Israel, so
Okay.
I tried to get some, and I just couldn't for a normal price.
I don't want to talk about anything that you can't talk about, obviously, but in terms of like importing and stuff, is that just because like it's shut down, or is it just because it's cost prohibitive?
I have no idea.
No. It's just interesting when you talk about other countries and like what I'm used to versus what other people are used to, and what their experience is versus what my experience is. To kind of hear those things. So you're saying like they are available, it's just like black market, too expensive, not...
No,
like
they're available on official website. Just because they aren't like officially imported, you have to pay like $70 to import one book. I'm not paying that.
That's
Even I am not paying that. Yeah.
Again, like I hate repeating words, but it's just interesting for me, and it's probably because a lot of this content comes out of my country, that like I can go to a library and check that book out of a library for free, like super easily. You know, like I could go down the street and it's probably available there, even in my small town library. And that's probably a product of the fact that it is it's an American company, and it's American IP, and almost all of their writers are coming out of America. Would you say? I mean, obviously it's different there, but like if you were to go to like a library in Israel, would you say that there is like a decent mix of international material, or would you say that it's almost primarily?
No, there's like imagine there's your library. There's like two shelves that are international. Everything else is just local.
Is from Israel.
Yeah.
It's strange for me, but it makes sense, right? Because like if I go to a library, it's probably very different. Not that it's difficult, but it's a lot harder for me to find things that might be from like Spain or from Israel or from another country to be able to get. But it's also a lot easier for me, I think, to import things here. You know, the duties, the taxes, everything's just a little bit cheaper.
Yeah. I haven't been to the US, so I have no idea. But
I know you were looking to. We were talking about that. Like you were planning to.
I might actually be able to do it again. I'm not sure. I need to talk to people because.
Well, when you do, you know, let me know. I met up with somebody in Manhattan a few weeks ago that from my country, but far. You know, Wisconsin is by plane probably like 4 to 5 hours. That just happened to be in the area, and I was like, okay, you know, it's a 45-minute bus ride for me. Sure, like let's go have a beer, and it's kind of doing what we're doing right now, but without a camera and just sitting in a bar having a drink. But we might have to wait a couple years because I can't buy you a drink in my country.
Yeah.
For
Americans, that 21 years.
Yeah.
I can do it legally.
I think almost anywhere else in the world, you know, you can. And
no, it's half and half.
It's
because.
Go ahead.
Because it's most of the countries it isn't 21, but it's 19, 20,
Yeah.
21. Yeah, those, and half
Here,
of the countries are 18.
Here, the
It's really
laws are
strange.
actually very weird, and a lot of people don't actually realize this. You don't have to be 21 to drink. It's strange, and there's gonna be like people listening, and they're gonna put in the YouTube comments and be like, "No, you're wrong." So the way that it works here is that it's up to each state, right? And the states decide. And there's 50 states and blah blah blah. But the federal government basically said like, "Hey, we're not going to give you money for roads for highways unless you make it 21." So everybody was kind of forced to do that. But there's a lot of loopholes. So in I think it's like 44 states, there are different rules where like
I read them all.
yeah,
I know. I
you
read
could
them all.
drink at home. Like it's crazy. There are a couple of states where you can drink at a bar at 18, but you can't order it. You know, somebody else has
Yeah.
to order it for you. Like it's really strange. It's very convoluted.
I don't think I can drink alone in like even if someone else orders me and just it to me and just leaves, I can drink it. But someone else is with me. I think there are a couple. Yeah.
Is that's here or in Israel?
Here in the US, in Israel, I
In the
can
U.S.
go to any bar
You can do
at
whatever you want
18 and just do
and
whatever I
just
want.
drink.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's just where the confusion was, and I'm just curious. So Star Wars Galaxy Heroes. I know, like I do these things, and we start on Star Wars. We completely go off of Star Wars. I didn't think I'd be talking about like laws and like U.S. government today. That I haven't had that class since 2005, so almost 20 years ago in high school. It was a mandatory class. Star
Yeah.
Wars Galaxy Heroes. We have a love hate relationship with CG, right? Like sometimes we love them, sometimes we hate them. We get angry at them, we get annoyed by them. I'm on a spending freeze right now. I've told them, you know, fuck you. I don't care for my own reasons. If you were to, it's such a hard question to word, but like if you were to work for CG and you cared about the bottom line, right? Like you were like, I want them to make money. I want them to do really well. I want the stock price to go up, but I think it can still be done better. Even being like I want them making top dollar. Is there anything that you think you feel like you could do where you were able to produce more revenue but also make it easier for the players at the same time?
I think what a lot of people don't realize is that to go up, you need to go down first. So, like a lot of those quality of life changes will reduce the amount of money earned in the short run, but will increase the amount of money earned in the long run. So, and a lot of people don't realize that because they don't play games. They
Yeah.
don't realize what people want. So, all of the quality of life stuff can be done. Just needs to convince people that are hard to be convinced when they see numbers going down.
So I think like what you're saying here is, and I kind of am on the same boat. Like when we talk about like quality of life changes, we're talking about things like you know, being able to sim certain events, being able to do the bronziums without having to have hot utilities, the things that don't change the gameplay overall, but maybe make the gameplay a little bit better. And if I'm hearing you correctly, you're saying if you were to be there and you were to focus on some of that stuff, you might see some short-term dips, but people would overall be happier
Yeah, and will
and spend more.
willing to spend more, and yeah, if we
I
are treating them like people and not like money bags, so obviously they'll treat like us like people and not like um, people that treated them like money bags. Yeah.
I mean I agree with you, and you've seen my comments on Reddit. You've seen the things that I say, and Meathead reaches out to me sometimes, And I think the reason that he does is because when I give him feedback, it's not just like, screw you guys, do this because we don't want to spend money. It's like more nuanced than that. My whole thing is respect my time, right? And if you respect my time, I'm willing to spend more money. And that's really right. Like
I'm
that's what
100% at the same boat because I don't have a lot of money. Time now. I don't have a
yes.
lot of time now because of all the things that are happening. Yeah, I'm 100% at the same boat.
Yes, and I think you're interesting because at your age you're realizing this a lot earlier than I think most people do, which is great. That's awesome. Like that's gonna set you up really well. Is that you're realizing like time is your most valuable resource, and I don't think people. I'm just now realizing that. I think a lot of people don't realize that until a little bit later in life. And when we talk about it in game terms, people talk about like my best example would be like GAC Omicrons, right? And they're like, oh, GAC Omicrons give you the best crystal return. Like those are the only ones you buy. And I buy TB ones because they save me time, right? Like I don't have to spend as much time. I can hit the auto button now and play the game without playing the game. Because time is the only thing that I can't get back. And it's that it's that important, and I hope if anybody listens through and they take anything from this, I hope that that's the one thing that they take is they're like, oh, like both of you are right, and this is something that is important, and maybe that'll force them to quit the game. I don't know, maybe they'll say, oh, I shouldn't be playing this shit.
They are 100% right. If they say so.
I wish, man. I wish. I don't want. I'm gonna tell you this, and it's gonna get me banned from the game. And if it gets me banned from the game, that's fine because I'll be like, I'll be mad for 2 days, and then I'll be like, this is great. But like 2 years ago, I'm a teacher, and teachers here like towards the end of the year they usually get like gifts from students, and I got a bunch of like gift cards, Visa gift cards. And I put those Visa gift cards on my PayPal account so that I could buy a crystal vault. I was like, I want to buy a crystal vault. I want to get 16,000 crystals, but for like without spending my own money, spending these gift cards. So I did. I put this money on my PayPal account. I managed to do it. I figured out how to do it. And I bought a crystal vault, and I made sure that the funding source was this gift card, was this vanilla whatever $100-something. I'm very anal about things like that. And I hit go, and I got my crystals, and then I realized like an hour later that PayPal incorrectly charged my debit card $100 that I didn't want charged to my debit card. Like that wasn't the purpose of this. I never would have spent it. So I emailed PayPal and I said, hey, you guys messed up. Like I want to spend this money, but I didn't want to spend it out of this money. I wanted to spend it out of the money that's not real, like out of this fake credit card that has money on it. All I want you to do is refund it and then put it on this other one. Like I want to spend it. I do want them to have my money. And what ended up happening is they just refunded me. And I was terrified because I was like, oh no, I'm going to get banned from this game. I don't want a refund. I do want to give them my money. But I just got a refund. I got my 16,000 crystals. I didn't spend any money for them. I was terrified for a month. I thought I was going to get banned in like 2 days. I was checking in every day, just like mortified. But now, if Meathead hears this and he bans me, I'm like, this is great. I'm going to have so much more time in my life.
I don't think I've ever done anything like that. I only started spending like a couple of months ago when the first Lightspeed bundles dropped.
Well, Lightspeed bundles are such a great thing.
Yeah.
Right, like for players like you who have been playing for years, but you start to see these super high value packs. You go, yeah, of course I would spend $20 on that.
Actually, talking about quality of life stuff, here's one thing that technically earned less money, but kinda did earn a lot of money in the long run because people started spending.
Yes.
And
Well,
yeah.
that's a whole like psychology thing, and I did you. I'm sure you're not surprised to hear it, but I did research on this a few like right before COVID, so around 2019, 2020. And when it comes to like the mobile game markets, very few people spend. But once you get them to spend once, they're far more likely to spend again. So
So
when
what
they
happened to
give,
me 100%.
yeah, and right, like you bought a Lightspeed bundle, and now you're like, I will wail on Ahsoka. Like I spent
Yeah.
$10, but now screw you, I will spend all of this money because this is my favorite character. That
Yeah,
almost it like breaks the psychological seal, right? Like when you
yeah.
drink alcohol,
I'm sure if it wasn't for Lightspeed bundles,
you'd be
I
like, "Oh, I'm
wouldn't
free to
have.
play. Like I won't do
Yeah.
this." And now you're like, "Well, I'm not. It's not a big deal." It's like when you drink too much, right? And I don't know if they have this saying there, but like we call it breaking the seal. So like the first time you go to the bathroom, and now you go to the bathroom every 20 minutes because you keep drinking. So we
I,
say,
I don't have. We don't have the same here, but I know enough
okay.
American culture to know the thing. Yeah.
So it's the same idea, right? When it comes to spending, you broke the seal on spending, and now it's not a taboo anymore. And you go, well, I spent $10, and it's only $20 more. It's only $30 more. So you're right. Like in the short term, they might originally they might have said, well, I'm only selling this for $10 when it should be worth $200. So we're losing money, but it was only potential money because nobody was buying those things. And now they get this quick injection, and people go, oh, I will spend again. I will do this. And you're a case study for that. And I've seen other people are a case study for that. And I was the same way when I first spent my first $20, and I was like, oh, well, it's only $30. Oh, it's only $50. Oh, that relic pack is this. It's fine. Would you agree with that being like the kind of the way that it almost it works out?
Yeah, 100%. I literally said that like 3 minutes ago.
Yeah. Well, I found in advertising you need to hear it like 7 times, right? Like it's you have to say it a bunch of times before it actually sticks in your head. So I like to repeat myself, and I find I've been now that I do these things and I watch other people to just get their vibe. I find that a lot of like creators they do the same thing, and I know that you were talking about like doing videos and doing these different things in the future. So you have to learn to repeat yourself, and just say the same thing over and over and over again, so that it actually gets beaten into people's heads.
I saw Cap do it a lot of on his streams. He just repeats it, I think, like 3 or 4 times.
You you have to you because if you don't, like I found when I do like a stream and I say to people, okay, this is not what I agree with, but this person's doing this thing, so I'm gonna help them in this way. I will explain my logic, and then people will be like, oh, you're wrong, you should go for this other thing. And I go, no, I already explained 5 times why I'm expressing it this way. I understand, you're correct, but I guess I have to explain it 6 times so that everybody in the room understands it. And you never know when people jump in or pop in or they scrub the video and start halfway through or do whatever else. So
Yeah.
what I like to do here is I try to keep these. I know you started watching Three Scoundrels pretty recently.
Yeah.
In the last like week or two, right? And those are like super long.
Yeah.
I've done them. They're like fucking marathons. When I do those streams, and I know your time, so they start at 8:30 p.m. for me. It is like
It's
7 for you. So it's early morning. Holy shit.
No, it's 4 a.m. for me.
Yeah, that's early. That's early morning. Like you.
That's not early morning. I'm usually asleep. But I can wake up at 4 a.m. if I want to, but I just usually don't.
But you've been listening to them. I get. Well, you start because you were on the last time, but maybe on
Yeah,
Spotify.
I can. I just usually don't.
So the point is, like, they do like these marathon things. They're like 3 hours,
Yeah.
4 hours. It's like 8 a.m. or 8 p.m. for me. When I do join them, by the time I get out, it's like 12:30 in the morning, and I'm stumbling to bed. I'm half drunk, and I'm like, oh my god, my entire night is gone. They are a lot of fun to do, though. Every once in a while, I try to keep these around like the hour mark, just for people's sake, which we're reaching now. So what I want to do is I like to give whoever my guest is their last thoughts and end on their thoughts rather than my thoughts.
I have no idea what I'm supposed to say here. I'm not the person that I need to be guided to say stuff. I'm
You're
maybe saying stuff. I need to be guided.
so you're a follower, not a leader. We have to mold you, man.
Yeah,
If you're gonna
yeah. I'm 100%. I'm not a leader.
if you are gonna be doing if you're gonna be going on a journey of doing some videos sometime, we gotta mold you into that leader. Especially again, alluding like just the stuff that's gonna be happening near to you in the next couple of months. Like that's hopefully you're gonna find that voice, right? Like you're gonna. I think that you will.
Yeah, when I'm forced to, I can. I just
Yes.
don't like it.
Okay. I didn't like it for the longest time. I will tell you that. It was the last couple of years that I realized, oh hey, I got to do this thing and I got to step up and I have to do that. So I'm hoping that happens for you, because for those of you watching all the way to the end who don't know, Cunctator, who has a name that unfortunately sometimes gets misconstrued to other words. Look, you sometimes make dumb decisions like going for Ahsoka, but you are a smart guy, and you are, like it says on Reddit, you are on Team Data, and Data or Data?
I have no idea. I think I changed it actually.
You just go back and forth. I think me too sometimes.
Yeah.
So you're on Team Data, like you're on that math train. Very smart guy that does know his stuff, just doesn't necessarily follow the smart path all the time, right? So understands the smart path, but sometimes says, you know what, this is gonna be a lot of fun. So
it's a game. You don't
That's true.
have to follow the smart path.
But if you guys do hop onto our Discord and you happen to see the Cunctator on there and he's talking to you, I would say there's a 50-50 chance you should be listening to him. If it's about math, he's probably correct. He's corrected me sometimes. If it's about what character to go for next, I probably wouldn't listen to him, because he's going to tell you to go after his favorite characters, and that's usually wrong. So that's your indicator to everybody is math. Yes.
Actually, when I'm talking to other people, I usually turn off my
Bias.
not being smart path. Yeah.
Okay, so then maybe we'll give him a little bit more credit. Instead of saying 50-50, we'll say 70-30. I think that's fair.
Yeah,
right?
that's fair. That's 100% fair.
So I'll tell you about this later, but my sign off here, I want to say, guys, I appreciate, thank you for listening. It's always fun talking to people from around the world. Cunctator, man, we'll talk later as well. We talk constantly, and I appreciate your time. I do appreciate the perspective of Star Wars fans that don't meet my demographic. So from different parts of the world, from different age ranges, different age groups, who have their own experiences. I hope that other people appreciate that too and understand that we live in a world that has 8 billion freaking people in it, and they're all different and have their own biases and changes. So thank you.
Close to 9, actually.
Are we getting there already? That's disgusting.
Yeah.
We're getting it. It's popping off. But I appreciate your time, and I will sign off with my typical, which is just very easy. Peace out, guys.